Final update. My 34M wife, 31F, is having a meltdown over our daughter's personality and I don't know what to do. What should I do? Story 1. I'm a 34-year-old guy and I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter. My wife is 31. In high school, my wife was a popular girl stereotype. Pink, blonde, chunky highlights in her brown hair. This was the mid-late 2000s. She was on the cheerleading team, had lots of friends and boyfriends, was well known and liked. She was basically the living embodiment of the picture-perfect girl from those cheesy 2000s high school movies. And then she got pregnant. When she was 15, she had her daughter. She doesn't know who the father is, and any potential fathers for the girl up and left way back when. Her daughter is recently 16. I never wanted kids, I found them annoying, but I fell in love with my wife and got married when she was 20 and I was 23 after dating for 2 years. We hit it off, and I married her and decided to suck it up around the kid. I never planned to absolutely love being a dad to her specifically. Kids still annoy me, but my daughter, stepdaughter technically, was different. She was quiet, nerdy even at a young age. I married her mother when she was 5, and we clicked right away. We went on daddy-daughter dates every weekend. I played dolls with her. Let her paint my nails and do makeup on me. I drove her to and from school in my cop car. We even did daddy-daughter duo costumes for Halloween. Over the past 2 years she's developed a darker dress style. I don't know what the proper subculture of her outfits are, but according to her she's dressing like a horror game protagonist and a Monster High character. Purple is her main color she incorporates into this specific aesthetic blend, as she calls it. I don't get it, but maybe that's because I'm a man in my 30s, I don't know. She likes ghosts, tarot cards, vampires, zombies, aliens, creepy Victorian dolls. I don't get it, but also I don't care because if it makes her happy, so what? She's also an introvert, and prefers to play games on her computer or read fantasy occult novels rather than hang out with other teens her age. She has friends, so I'm not too worried about her being completely withdrawn. I'm just glad I don't have to drive her around since she only has a learner's permit currently. My wife hates this. My wife always wanted a girly girl. Pinks and pastels and flowers and all that. She wants our daughter to get a boyfriend, be more social, be a cheerleader like she was. Which in itself is valid. I get it, I'm sure most every parent has preferences for what they want their kid to turn out like, and some disappointment when they stray from that fantasy is valid. Some. My wife will constantly takes and hides my daughter's darker room decor. She constantly gets pastel dresses for our daughter, tells her to wipe off her dark eye makeup, tries to set her up on dates with jock types from my daughter's school, and convince her to sign up for both school and summer activities like cheerleading or volleyball. I could have put up with all of that. I really could have. But a few weeks ago I woke up to my wife finally hitting her breaking point. I woke up in the middle of the night to my wife screaming and having what I can confidently describe as a borderline meltdown. She was crying and saying all she ever wanted was a normal daughter who likes pink, and is a cheerleader and has a boyfriend and will give her grandkids. I had to drag her out the hallway after 30 minutes of this. I kept thinking it would stop, but it kept going on and on. My daughter was just staring at this whole thing in the doorway of her room. What caused this meltdown from my wife? My daughter dyed purple over the blonde streaks highlights my wife had forced her to get in her hair. Which wasn't even breaking a house rule, as my wife and I have both told her she can do whatever she wants with her hair as long as she doesn't stain too many towels. It's been weeks, and my daughter won't talk to her mom. My wife is still up with her antics, but now it's in overdrive. Every day she brings home some type of trendy clothing in pink or pastels and tries to give it to my daughter. My daughter is getting fed up and stays in her room all day and has confessed to me she can't wait for school to start back up in a few weeks so she can get out the house and be with her friends again. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to side with anyone in this situation. I understand my wife wants a daughter who she can relate, and my daughter wants a mom who understands her. I don't know what I can or should do. I need help, I need advice. Update. It's been about a week since I last posted about how my wife was having a meltdown over how my daughter chose to dress. 2 nights after I posted, I sat my wife down and very bluntly asked her what exactly the problem was. She kept saying she just wanted a daughter who was similar to her, but after I kept asking she broke down and admitted the real reason why she was having her meltdowns. My wife feels that her daughter is the only way for her to have more family in the future. She's estranged from her siblings, her parents don't speak much to her, and all of her friends from high school stopped talking to her after her pregnancy. She wants a family back, and she's hoping that her daughter will marry a nice boy and give her grandkids so she can have a family again. She said she never brought up having more kids with me because she figured I'd be against the idea. I don't know how I feel about having more kids with my wife, but it certainly won't happen now. So my wife is in therapy to try and get her to realize that she can't just view my daughter as a way to create a family. She's doing well so far, but it's too soon to really tell. My daughter is also in therapy. She's been in therapy since she was a kid for bullying issues, but now her therapist is trying to focus on the meltdown situation with her. My daughter actually seems relatively unaffected by this whole situation other than a little annoyed, so I don't know if that's good or not. I took my daughter to Hot Topic for some back-to-school accessories and then took her out to eat, just the two of us. She's still excited to go back to school. She misses her friends and her clubs. My wife and daughter have started talking normally again. They had a long talk, which I was present for, where my wife apologized for being so pushy and extreme with her wishes. My daughter was well receptive to this talk and seems to be back to her normal self. I am keeping an eye on both of them to be sure. My wife is doing her best to understand my daughter's interests. Last I know the two were watching some slasher TV show on Hulu as a way to bond, and it appears to be working. There isn't any bad blood between the two. I know things are soon, and that things can change, but so far everything appears to be smoothing over pretty well. Thank you for all the advice, harsh and gentle, that I reviewed through my original post. It definitely slapped me in the face as what could happen if I didn't get both of them help and make them talk it out. Story 2. Ata for laughing when my mom said she'd hope I would care for my stepdad in his old age. So for some context, my mom broke up my family when I was 6, and my brother was 11, to be with my stepdad. Our dad moved to a neighboring state, and we only got to see him every other weekend. I've only connected all these details as an adult. My brother and I are now both in our 30s, and my dad didn't share details of the divorce until the last few years. To say I lost a lot of respect for my mom and stepdad is an understatement. My mom chose to replace our dad with an angry alcoholic, and thought we'd make a big happy family. Hint. It never happened. I forgive them, it was years ago, but respect is gone. Growing up with them was stressful and like walking on eggshells. If I had a disagreement with my stepdad, my mom would come home and only talk to him about what happened, before giving me a punishment. The day my brother graduated high school, he moved out. We both had nothing but disdain for my stepdad. He got drunk every single day, and was mean. Never physically, but verbally. I'll never forget being called a whore for going on a date with my boyfriend, or us following a young woman to her home after she flipped us off on the road. After I became an adult and got married at a young age, our relationship improved. I've now been married for almost 13 years, and we have 2 little girls together. When my stepdad comes to our house, we get along great. However, we went back to their home for Thanksgiving a few years ago, and it was very stressful. Many parts of me felt like I was stepping back into high school again. Fast forward to a conversation I had with my mom recently. We were discussing children taking in their parents in their old age. Something, I might add, my mom never did for my grandma after my grandpa died. Why? Because my stepdad couldn't live with her. None of her other 3 kids took her in either, and she managed okay, passing away in her own home with my mom and aunt at her side. Anyhow, we were discussing this subject and how many parents might be taken in by their children after their spouses pass away. So, for example, my mom coming to stay with us after my stepdad passes away, my mill, or my dad, etc. She said she hoped that if she passed away that I would consider taking my stepdad in if he were elderly. I actually laughed out loud before even considering how a reaction might hurt her feelings. First of all, even if it were my own dad, I would prefer to take in one of our moms if I'm going to be a primary caregiver. And of course if we never actually took anyone into our home, we would still help and support them however we could. But my mom, expecting this of me with my stepdad? What magical land is this, where irony doesn't exist? I have never considered him a father figure. He played a huge role in breaking apart my family at a young age, and refused to take in my terminally ill grandma when she needed it most. So, Ata for laughing? Relevant comments. Commenter. Honestly, she was pushing her luck even asking if you'd take her in. But to ask it for a man who is neither a blood relation nor a father figure and made your childhood miserable is absurd. NTA. At all. You deserve to keep your home a safe haven for yourself. Commenter. NTA. How did she react? And how did she not know this man made your lives miserable under her roof? OP. Her eyes widened in shock. I immediately said, sorry, didn't meant to laugh that loud, but we basically already called dibs on my MILA. She changed the subject, thank God. And she knew we all hated each other. She dated him for 5 years before marrying him, and she had plenty of chances to prioritize her kids, but she never did. If she prioritized her kids, She would have honored her original vows to my dad. Commenter, NTA. Honestly, she's lucky you only laughed and didn't say something worse. Was your mom upset by your reaction? OP. She was shocked. I apologized for laughing so loud right in her face cause we were sitting on a love seat together, and I joked that we already called dibs on my MIL. My mom has never been one to have deep conversations, so she changed the subject. Story 3. AITA for telling my best friend her boyfriend was cheating and showing her the video I took. Emily, 27F, has been my best friend forever. She's been dating Ryan, 28 million, for 3 years, and they seem perfect together. She was head over heels for him, and they'd even started talking about getting married. I liked Ryan too until last Friday. I was out at a bar with some coworkers when I saw Ryan sitting in a booth across the room. At first, I thought, oh cool, small world, but then I noticed he wasn't alone. He was with another woman, and they were way too close to just be friends. They were laughing, leaning into each other, and then, clear as day, he kissed her. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to do. I knew if I told Emily without proof, Ryan could easily twist the story and make me look like a liar. So, I pulled out my phone and took a short video of them kissing and leaving together. But then, I couldn't just let it slide. I marched straight up to Ryan before he could leave and confronted him. I told him I saw everything, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. He went mental. He called me crazy, said I was imagining things, and yelled that I'd ruin everything if I dared to show the video to Emily. He even tried to grab my phone, but I walked away and told him it wasn't up to him anymore. The next day, I went straight to Emily's place and told her what happened. At first, she looked like she didn't believe me, so I showed her the video. Her face went pale, and then she just snapped into action. She didn't cry or scream, she went cold and methodical. She grabbed a trash bag, started throwing all of Ryan's clothes and stuff into it, and told me to help. Then she called a locksmith to change the locks on their apartment. When Ryan showed up later to talk, his things were already on the sidewalk, and Emily wouldn't even let him inside. Ryan kept texting and calling, begging her to forgive him, but she blocked him on everything. Emily's been eerily calm since then. She thanked me for telling her but hasn't really talked about it much. Meanwhile, some of our mutual friends think I overstepped by filming Ryan and confronting him, saying it wasn't my place. Now I'm questioning myself. Aida for filming him, confronting him, and then showing Emily? Or was it the right thing to do? Story 4. Ada for telling my girlfriend's friend she can't eat the food I cooked since it's unhygienic. It was a typical Sunday, my day off. As a 29-year-old Indian doctor living abroad, Sundays were my time to relax, hone my cooking skills, and catch up on sleep. My girlfriend of 1 year, who is 28, shared the day with me at home. This particular Sunday, I decided to prepare a simple chicken curry with rice, a dish my girlfriend enjoys. Unlike butter chicken, this version uses onions in the base instead of tomatoes. IDK why I told you all this, but yeah. 3 of my girlfriend's friends were coming over that afternoon. I'd met 2 of them multiple times, but one was a new acquaintance. They had plans for a casual get-together. Generally, when I cook on such occasions, my girlfriend and her friends insist I join them, which I don't mind. They're good company. I was finishing up the cooking when they arrived. As they chatted in the living room, I put on my headphones to listen to music while wrapping up in the kitchen. Afterward, I stepped out to ask if they'd prefer lunch now or later. Everyone agreed to eat immediately, except for the new girl. She commented, "I don't think I'd like Indian food. It's unhygienic." While I mentally raised an eyebrow and chuckled, I refrained from reacting outwardly. My girlfriend, however, was visibly annoyed, and her other friends were quick to call out the remark as inappropriate. One of them even added, "That wasn't nice to say." I assured everyone I wasn't offended, explaining that stereotypes about Indian food often stem from street food and hygiene misconceptions, so I understood where the remark might come from. With that, I returned to the kitchen to finalize the meal. My girlfriend followed me and jokingly, said she felt like committing murder. I told her not to stress over it, as I don't take remarks from people I don't care about to heart. When it was time to eat, my girlfriend set the table while I brought out the curry. Everyone else enjoyed the meal and gave me plenty of compliments, which was nice to hear. Midway through the meal, the new guest, despite her earlier remark, expressed a sudden interest in trying the food. Here's where I might have acted immaturely. I closed the lid on the dish and told her, "I don't think you should eat this. It's unhygienic, remember?" She seemed visibly upset and left the house shortly after. I half expected my girlfriend to be upset with me, but instead, she said, "Good riddance," and her other friends reassured me that I'd done nothing wrong. They even mentioned they preferred my company over hers, which was flattering. I joked about liking their company too but still preferring my Sunday blanket, which made everyone laugh. So, was I in the wrong for closing the lid? So Ada, edit 1. I assured everyone I wasn't offended. I think I was mildly annoyed but I decided not to say it out loud. Relevant comments. Commenter, NTA, that was a rude and terrible thing for her to say and the last thing you owed her was the food you made. I think you could try to make the argument that she might have experienced more personal growth if she tried and enjoyed the food and maybe if you were the bigger person on that one meal her goodwill would grow, but that's a ridiculous thing to expect you to do and wishful thinking anyway. She got her own bitter taste in her mouth and didn't like it, NTA. Commenter, NTA. She made a rude comment about your cooking, so you just gave it back to her. Honestly, I'm all for not letting people talk smack and then expect to be treated like nothing happened. If she can dish it out, she should be able to take it. You kept it light and everyone had a laugh. Good vibes all around. Story 5, Ada, for telling my ex some hard truths during our closure chat. So, a little background. I, 33F, dated this guy, 41M, for 3 years, but we broke up almost 4 years ago because I was just unhappy. Our goals didn't line up anymore, and he kept trying to change me. He didn't like how I dressed, my hair, or my friends, especially my LGBTQ+ crew, and even made comments about my weight. I was new in town and lonely, so I brushed off a lot of red flags, but his controlling behavior really wore me down. When I finally left, I started therapy to deal with my baggage and the mess he left me with. Therapy has honestly been a game changer. Recently, out of the blue, he hit me up and wanted to meet up to clear the air. I was hesitant but decided to go after talking it over with my therapist. I picked a cafe away from my place and worked for the meetup. When I got there, he was already sitting down. The first thing he said was, "You look great, you've lost weight. I wish you looked like this when we first met." He even mentioned I hadn't aged. I told him I looked fine back then, but honestly, this version of me wouldn't have dated him in the first place because he wasn't my type. He then said he wanted to know why I left so abruptly. I asked if he was seeing anyone, and he said yes, he's been with a Ukrainian woman for 2 years, which I already knew from friends. When I asked if she knew we were meeting, he said no. At that point, I just decided to be completely honest. I told him I left because I didn't trust him and that he was really self-centered. I felt like I was never a priority for him. I even told him he wasn't great in bed and that I stayed too long because I confused routine with love while feeling terrible about myself. I said I used to be a happy, confident person, and during our time together, I felt like I was fading away. He flipped out, ranting about how I was a terrible partner and then dropped a huge bombshell that he cheated on me twice. I think he expected me to be upset, but I stayed calm and told him, "You cheated by paying for it, so I'm not even sure that counts." Honestly, I already knew, and by the time I found out, I was halfway out anyway. I just felt bad for you because I saw how hard you were trying to find dates on those apps. Pathetic. He looked completely stunned. I told him he should focus on his current girlfriend and that this meeting was my one courtesy for closure. I said he could keep whatever story made him feel better and then I just left. Now I'm wondering if I went too far. Part of me thinks he deserved to hear the truth, but another part wonders if I could have been a bit nicer about it. Aita? Story 6. Aita, for secretly considering giving my mother's details to social services after she moved abroad, abandoning her 11-year-old child with abusive father. When my brother, M16, was 11, our mother abandoned him and left the country without informing either of us back in England. She made this decision primarily to escape her abusive partner, who is also my brother's father. To provide some context, I'm significantly older than my brother, M32, and I'm settled with my own home, wife, and career. When our mother left, she left my brother in the care of my older sister, F37, and her partner, M41, with the condition that it was just for the weekend. However, my sister was unaware that our mother planned to leave the country, and it turned out that this would be the last time we saw our mother. After this, my brother moved in with his abusive father, however went back to live with my older sister after feeling unsafe with his father. Unfortunately, my sister's partner became abusive toward my brother, which led to him reaching out to social services for help. They removed him from my sister's home and placed him in a safe, controlled living environment. Social services then contacted our mother, threatening to extradite her back to the country. She refused to disclose her whereabouts and has begged me not to reveal her address. Although social services haven't asked me for her details yet, I do know her address and am seriously considering giving them the information. When they do approach me, do you think I should share all my mother's information? I am so unsure of what the consequences would be either way. Thank you. Edit. My wife and I are doing all we can to support my brother, however when he stays with us in our tiny home he's on the couch. He prefers his own space in his new assisted accommodation, which is relatively nearby us, and we check in daily. He will be with us for Christmas, etc. My wife is also going through a lot, helping care for her father who is in palliative care. We simply do not have the space or resources to take in and support a teenager, as much as the situation breaks our hearts. Also, thank you so much for all your input and suggestions. We really appreciate everyone's time. Relevant comments. Commenter, your heart's in the right place, looking out for your little bro. Mom straight up abandoned a child, which is majorly messed up. Keeping her location secret might feel like betraying her trust, but protecting a vulnerable kid should come first. It's a sticky situation with no easy answers. If social services comes knocking, do what you believe is best for your brother's well-being, even if mom doesn't like it. Blood is thicker than water, but character is thicker than blood. Stay strong. NTA. Commenter. Bro, your mom dipped and left an 11-year-old with not one, but two abusive environments? Nah, the consequences of not sharing her details could mean more harm for your brother. Do what protects him, not her feelings. She made her choices. Commenter. What is best for your brother here? To be restored to the unwilling custody of the mother who abandoned him, or to roll the dice as a ward of the state? Not knowing the laws and personal dynamics involved here in great detail, it's hard to know. Your brother has been bounced around quite a bit and none of his relatives seem to be able to give him a safe and loving home. I hate to say it, but I'm leaning towards you staying out of it unless you plan to care for him yourself and do a good job at it. Otherwise, it seems the only thing that can save him is to have nothing to do with the lot of you. Poor kid. Commenter. As a foster carer, your mother absolutely deserves to be held accountable not only for her child, but also her actions in abandoning him. I have sat with far too many kids as they've cried themselves to sleep because their parents don't love them. I don't usually make requests in AETA, only suggestions if I think they're necessary. But in this case the person behind the username, am asking you to please report your mother. She does not deserve to be off gallivanting somewhere while your brother suffers the all-encompassing pain of being abandoned by his mother. NTA. Commenter, NTA, but logically what happens when she returns? Will his father be able to get control of her again and your vulnerable brother is left with two parents that can't help him and back in the same abusive household as before? And would she just run away again if things get hard, leaving him in the same position as he is in now? Or would it be better he be placed in the system with actual people that could take care of him? I say this because he's obviously been through a lot and a kid like that can only handle so much trauma. She's definitely TA for abandoning him, but I don't see how dragging her back to possibly another repeated cycle for your brother is going to help. She clearly can't and doesn't want to take care of him, and I don't think he'd even trust her again. Are you in a position to help him yourself? You and your wife? I ask this because if this was me, personally my husband and I would be there the second we heard of our mother abandoning any of my siblings or his and cutting her off as well. Again, NTA or your responsibility, but something to think about. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest ones. Have a great day.